Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Diane Hayden, and I have Marianne Costerella joining me today for our weekly calls. Basically, we've been talking about what we can do to thrive in these challenging times and what our souls are calling us to do. Marianne is a metaphysician, integrative psychotherapist, graduate of the Magi Fellowship Counselor Training Program, nationally certified Destiny Card Reader, and ongoing student of the Ancient Wisdoms. She utilizes the destiny cards in conjunction with astrology, numerology, and personology to provide clients with an integrated approach on their journey to personal transformation. And I'm excited because we are actually going to be talking about the destiny cards today, and that's probably my favorite thing that you do, as everyone knows. I've been working with Marianne for probably over 10 years now. She's been doing my destiny cards, and I just first of all find it absolutely fascinating, and more importantly, crazy accurate in terms of just how my readings have been. And literally, not once or twice, but every year. I mean, everything from perspectives on my work, perspectives on relationships, perspectives on health, pretty much whatever the cards have sort of outlined is going to happen and who's going to come into my life has actually happened. And it's just fascinating to watch. For me, it's more of a confirmation that I'm on the right path, or as to why certain people come into my life and what I'm supposed to be doing with them, or what the meaning is, that kind of thing. So we're going to be talking about destiny cards today, and then one lucky person on the call will get a little mini reading. And today actually is my day, right? Because I'm a four of spades, and it's a four of spades day.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So we could, well, I guess let's just start with an overview. So let's talk about, just a little bit of the background about what the cards are, and then what each of the suits mean, and then we can go dive in a little bit deeper.
Sure. So I guess I will start with in the year 2000, I happened to walk into Barnes & Noble and happened upon a book in a bookshelf that looked somewhat tacky to me. I pulled it off the shelf. The name of the book was Love Cards. I saw hearts, clubs, diamonds, and spades all over the front of the book, and I thought, what is this? This is not sophisticated enough for me to really be interested in it, but I'm going to take a look at it anyway. And as I began to peruse the book, I realized that the truths that were behind every single card in our common deck of 52 playing cards that most people have sitting in their home somewhere, and most people resort to playing a game with, had a completely different meaning and significance that I had never been told about or was never aware of. As I read the introduction to the book, I realized that numerically, as Robert Camp, the author of the book, very simplistically explained, 52 cards in the deck, 52 weeks in the year, 4 seasons, 4 suits, 12 royal cards, 12 months, and if you add the numerical value of every single card in the deck, you get 365. So aces are given the numerical value of 1, 2s, and then all the way up to jacks, which are 11s, queens, 12, kings, 13. And if you multiply 4 times each one of those numerical digits, you receive 365. So mathematically, the cards really are indicative of the fact that there was a deeper meaning behind this system. They were never meant to be played with. If you ever were to walk into any country in the entire world, any culture, you will find a deck of playing cards. And everyone assumes that what you're supposed to do with this deck of colorfully designed, kind of uniquely, because there's so many that have so many unique designs and patterns to them, and different ways of displaying these 52 characters, plus the Joker, by the way, that they all really were just supposed to be played with. So we started making up games, never realizing that back in the time of Jesus Christ, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, that these cards were the psychology of the ancients. that they were meant to indicate that every soul that was born into a body was a card, and that behind the meaning of that particular card that that soul chose based on that date of birth was the beginning of that soul's curriculum on this planet. So if you would decided to be born on, let's use Diane's birthday, February 8th, her soul chose the Four of Spades and the Queen of Diamonds to lead her and to guide her. It was like her GPS from the day that she was born to the day that her soul chooses to leave. And so that GPS or that destiny card system has a certain path, has a certain direction. And the soul is the transmission, I guess I want to say, for the human being. It knows, you know, what the lessons need to be, who the people that the soul needs to meet, to form relationships with, to learn whatever the soul wanted to learn before the soul came into the body. The soul knew what it had to work on before it got here. And so, again, my belief, and it's interesting because I'm sitting in the home of my 9-month pregnant daughter who wants to get out there and exercise and dance and do whatever she can possibly do to get this baby to be born. And I'm saying to her, that baby already knows its agenda. Its delivery will be up to that child. As much as we don't like to turn the power over, we think we can, we can change the direction from the beginning. And really, the soul is the master of that decision. So, as the soul chooses the birth date, it comes in the cards. Then, upon every single reoccurring birthday, you are given a new quote-unquote deal. So let me just digress for a minute and go into all the sayings that we know that identify this 52 common deck of playing cards. It wasn't in his cards. Let me put my cards on the table. It's not about the cards you've been dealt, it's how you play the hand. He's such a card. What's your deal? What suits you? He's not playing with a full deck. So there's just so many, and those are just a smattering of the, what do I want to say, kind of, colloquialisms or cliches that we think are, oh, that's just a cliche. Well, no, not really. I mean, anthropologically, those cliches are within our collective psyche. We know, the soul knows that those are not just cliches. Our minds minimize the meaning of those cliches because we can't believe that really this energy called our spirit is really in charge of the decisions, the relationships, the jobs, the setbacks, the obstacles, all of those things that are in our path, because the soul knows what we need to learn. So let me speak a little bit about the suits, which I think are really an important part of identifying the Destiny card system.
Before we get to that, actually, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I think we've talked about this before, but it just popped into my head when you were talking about the soul picking a particular day.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually was born via cesarean. So my mother, like the date was, some would say the date was picked. Right. Whether she picked it, her doctor picked it, and now, whether you're doing that or people can even basically plan when they want to deliver, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how does that affect, I feel like I remember you saying it doesn't matter, the soul's still picking it.
Right.
Okay.
And thank you. And by the way, quote unquote, parenthetically, I also was a cesarean, so we have that in common. And I think again, this goes back to my whole belief system about the ego versus the soul. Once we get into a body and we're down on this planet and we're living on, within the rules of existence down here, we've forgotten the elevated consciousness of spirit, and how that spirit really, regardless of whether the baby is adopted, the baby is born cesarean, the baby is born natural, the doctor says, I'll strip your membranes, I'll do this, we'll initiate that, you know, to bring on this delivery, or, you know, we'll have the baby 6 days early because you're X amount of pounds overweight, or whatever those extenuating reasons are. That soul has within it the knowledge that whatever's going on down here on the earth plane or outside of utero on the earth plane is not going to change the decision of that soul that was made on another plane of existence that's higher than the one we reside in right now, to be delivered, to be born. He knows, my grandson knows, that I can say safely he was going to be an Aries. He was going to be born in the month of April. He's going to have Venus in Gemini. He's going to have Mars in Aquarius. I mean, all of these factors go into the soul's decision-making before he chooses to come in.
Right. So what, I was just going to say, what you're saying basically is that my soul already knew that I was going to be born via cesarean, and it was going to happen on February 8th.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yes.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. That's what I believe. Because, you know, I've read so many books, not just on the cards, but on astrology and so many different things. You wouldn't be who you are in this lifetime if your soul had a decision for you to be born on February 5th. You know, it just wouldn't match up. Your energies, your personality, who you are. I mean, all the indications of what the Four of Spades and the Queen of Diamonds is about. You wouldn't be her if your soul had another, you know, assignment in mind. And so, yes, absolutely. That's what I believe. And I think, unfortunately, in some ways, it causes doctors and mothers and fathers and all the other people involved in the deliverance of the soul onto this plane to feel powerless, or to feel as if, you know, they're not able to do anything to affect the change that they want. Well, that's very true. And that's a culture that we're living in right now in this moment. We're not able to affect the change that, you know, we're powerless over what's going on right now. And this is soul and spirit saying, you've been powerless from the beginning, guys, you know. And so, yes, that's, I believe that, you know.
Yeah.
And so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sidetrack. So.
Okay.
So you were going to go into the suits, I think. Yes.
I was gonna talk about the suits, and I think so. If we were to look at literally people wearing a suit of clothes, I mean, where do we think that word came from? We are all wearing a suit of clothes. And so the hearts, if we start with the heart, because there is a logical order to the sequencing of the suits. Heart comes first, club comes second, diamond third, spade last. So the heart is about the child of the deck, the children of the deck. They are considered to be the children of the deck. So the cliche, young at heart. If you were to meet a 90-year-old heart, that energy of that woman or that male would still feel youthful, regardless of the age of their body, because they have a springtime energy about them, a youthful energy that was meant to come here to learn about the heart, to learn about relationships, to learn about love. Therefore, the heart symbolism. Where do we think the heart symbolism came from? For a Valentine's Day or for love? It comes from the card in the deck that essentially symbolizes so I could say my daughter, for instance, this is a heart time in her life. When that baby comes into a family, the baby is bringing heart into the family. The baby is there to teach the family about love. And the parents are there, hopefully, to also teach love to that child. So, you know, it's a combination, and that time period in a child's life where they're learning about sharing, they're learning about cooperation, they're learning about affection, they're learning about compassion, humility, all of those things that we're teaching them, those are all heart-centered values. And it parallels the early time in a child's life. So a child could actually be a club, a diamond, or a spade, but he or she still is in their heart period when they are first being acclimated to what it's like to live in a family group. So that's where we learn about love. So the second suit is let me go back and say, I'm sorry, about hearts, is that they're very spontaneous. They're very childlike. They work very well with children. Oftentimes you can see them as pediatricians or teachers or childcare workers. They are just, you know, they come from the heart of the child. And they want to learn about love and relationship. There are only 52 birthdays that are hearts on this planet. So out of 365 birthdays, there are only 52 that are hearts. So you will not meet a lot of hearts in your life. Okay. The second suit is clubs. And clubs are the adolescents of the deck. And unlike the heart, the club is very interested in the mind, very interested in the head, very interested in what he or she knows. They are considered to be the guardians of ideas. They want to know that, almost like the hospital system that I work in, that if something happened, did you document it? Can I see it on a lab report? Can I touch, taste, feel it? Just like the math of the system. People are attracted to the system because the math works. So the math grounds us. The math says, oh, there's something to this because I can't argue with the science of the math here. So a club loves the math. The club loves the documentation. The club loves to know that, you know, what I can touch, taste, see, feel is real. I would say that at times the club is not as oriented to the heart as the heart is because it's more interested in learning. Clubs have almost like, I want to say, like an addictive desire to know. They want to know, they want to learn anything and everything. And there are 131 birthdays in the club suit. Clubs are indicative of the summer of the year. And I may have forgotten to mention that hearts are indicative of the springtime. So young at heart, falling in love, that's spring. Clubs are summer. And they are about when a child leaves the home and goes to school. They have a buffet table of learning in front of them, hopefully. And they get to choose what they're interested in, what their soul came here to learn. And so school provides that. School is a classroom for the head, for the mind. And that's what clubs are focused on. If we move into diamonds, diamonds are the adults of the deck. Diamonds are interested in value system. They represent the autumn of the year. So when a person becomes an actual adult, is the autumn of their life, so to speak. And they say, okay, I want manifestation at all costs. I've learned about the heart values when I was a baby, a child, hopefully I've learned. And as a club, I've spent many years in learning about what it is that I'm interested in. doing. Now as a diamond, I want to be able to give that value system back to the world in some way, and then be rendered some money, some payback, so to speak, for what I've been learning and spending time doing here. So show me the money, so to speak, as a diamond, but a diamond is not only, unless they're evolving slowly and are focused on more of a lesser vibration, meaning the money, they're not just really about the money. They're more about value. What is of value to my soul? What do I want to teach? What do I want to give back to the world as an adult? And then, you know, what do I want to be paid? How do I want to be paid for my services? Because that all has to do with how I value myself. So the diamond is looking for a sense of self-value. They're always searching for themselves through valuing themselves in some way, and through receiving that validation from the world around financial reimbursement for what they do. And there are 131 birthdays that are diamonds. Okay. Spades are the old people of the deck. Spades can be likened to the winter time. They go deep. They want to know about meaning. They reflect the deathlessness of the soul. They're wise. I would say I have more wisdom than I have intelligence. I think the club may have a lot more intelligence than I do, but I believe that my wisdom, I go deeper than I may go wider, so to speak. I am a spade. They're old when they're young. I said they represent the deathlessness of the soul. Call a spade a spade. Things happen in spades. By the way, parenthetically, we're in spades right now. This first week of April is all spades until the 7th. And the grave digger's shovel at the end of the shovel is a spade. So a spade is digging for the truth all the time. You know, I mean, I can find myself at times like getting inundated with so much knowledge that's in this world. But I always want to understand what's the meaning of all this knowledge. Where is all this knowledge taking us? Where is all this communication in the head taking us? Because my soul is not as interested in all the information as it is in the meaning of the information. So it's a deeper perspective on life. Just like an old person who may be getting ready to leave the planet, they're looking through their rear view mirror, so to speak, and saying, what has this all been about existentially? Why have I been here? What did I come to teach? What did I come to learn? What did I come to leave this world with? So to sum up, oh, and by the way, spades, there are only 49 spades in the entire deck. So we can see that the bookends of the suits are hearts, the heart, and the spade, which is the soul. So the heart and soul, the hearts have 52, the spades have 49. The clubs and diamonds obviously comprise the majority of the population. And I want to say that every single card party, every single group function that I've facilitated, that I've run, where there's been maybe 15 to 25 to 45 participants, every time I count the amount of hearts, clubs, diamonds, and spades, the most amount of people microcosmically in that group are always clubs and diamonds, and the least amount are always hearts and spades, which validate this system. in terms of the numerical amount of people on this plane and how many are from each suit.
Yeah,
So, yeah, go
I was
ahead.
just going to say, it's really interesting when you, like, as you were talking, I mean, I have a pretty good background on this, but I was really sitting here thinking about the people in my life that I know that are hearts and clubs and diamonds and spades. And I'm thinking about specific people as you were talking, and I'm like, wow, I never looked at that person from that way. For example, my cousin is a 7 of hearts. She's September 30th.
Uh-huh.
And she is very like young. And at the same time, not to say that she doesn't have a lot of knowledge and that kind of thing, but her spirit, like her energy, is
Right.
very young. She's almost still like, she's my age, she's 52, but it's almost like she's still 25 or,
Right.
like early 20s or whatever. She wants to play. She's spontaneous. And I'm like really thinking about each of the people as you're going through the card system. And I'm the suits. I'm like, wow, it every single person that I think about, whether I think about a club in my life, whether I think about a diamond, another spade, it is spot on. Every
Right.
single person has those like essential qualities about them.
Yes.
In terms of what you were talking about. It's really just fascinating as you got, as people on the call learn more about them. I would encourage you to think about other people in your life, whether it's family or friends or whatnot, even coworkers. And for me, it actually helps me relate to people. Like sometimes when my cousin is doing something that might be frustrating to me because I'm like, why is she so interested in TikTok? It's so stupid. Like, it's just watching these people dance for 30 seconds. I could do, like I could make these videos all day long. Why is she fascinated by that?
Right.
While you were talking, I'm like, I have a better understanding and acceptance of why she's fascinated by TikTok.
Exactly.
Because she's a heart. And
That's
it's
right.
just light and airy and fun. And that's, what
That's
she
right.
wants to be about. So instead of seeing it from a frustration, I just flipped and looked at it as that's who she's supposed to be. Like,
That's right.
she's teaching you the energy of being a heart.
So beautiful. Absolutely. Perfect application of what I was just saying. And I very, very much, and it's interesting because the 7 of hearts is the card of unconditional love. So she's here not only to learn it herself, but to teach it to you and to everyone else. Like, let all of us be who we are. We all came as different cards with different curriculums and different agendas. And she's here absolutely to teach you the youthfulness of the heart, because the spade sometimes can be old and wise perhaps, but not maybe needing a little more fun or a little more joviality in their life. And it's funny too, because as you talk about TikTok, my 9-month pregnant daughter and my son-in-law kind of over the last couple of days, because she's been getting frustrated with not delivering this baby. So he's a heart, and the two of them have created these amazing dances. And here she is at 9 months pregnant, able to do these dances. And I thought, he's bringing heart and lightness into this heavy part of her pregnancy where she just wants to get to the hospital and deliver. But, he has allowed her to dance that feeling out of her system so that she feels energized. And, she hasn't done a lot of her own, obviously, workouts lately with being pregnant, but of course, doesn't matter. She still is amazing in terms of what her body's able to do. But what I'm suggesting is his heart has helped her to lighten that load. And so I think we have to recognize that, we're all here for specific reasons, and we're all here to teach ourselves and other people, what the true meaning of our cards are. So yeah, it's great. I guess the final one statement that I'd like to make about the suits is, if anyone were to walk into an art museum and you saw a painting on the wall, the heart would say, oh, I wonder what the artist was feeling when he painted that picture. The club would say, I wonder what the artist was thinking when he painted that picture. The diamond would say, I wonder how much that painting is worth. And the spade would say, I wonder what the meaning of that painting is. So that's kind of a quick,
Totally.
summation.
Yeah. Allison asked about a website on how to find what what each person's destiny card is, or if we're going to be teaching that. I mean, we could at the end of the call, if people want to type in the chat their birthday, we can certainly go through that. There, we have about 8 people on the call, so it's a small group today. So we certainly could do that on this call. And then if you want to talk about at the end, websites or where you would send people, or books where you would send people for resources, I'll just make a note so we don't forget to do that.
Of course. Okay, great. Yeah, absolutely. Interesting that there are 8 people on the call, because today is a 4 of spades and 8 of spades day. So we have 8 people learning the system, and this is a spade system because the ace of spades represents the system. So, and I guess I could talk about that just for a moment. We do have Karen, who is the ace of spades, on this call, and the ace of spades, if you look at the emblems of the 4 aces, the spade is the largest of the 4 emblems. It's the biggest design. And people just think, oh, that's because the people who created this deck of cards put their trademark in the ace of spades. And so they made the spade larger than the heart, club, or diamond. And that is not true. The reason the spade is the largest is because the ace of spades is the representative card of the 52 of the entire system. The ace of spades represents death of the old, beginning of the new. And it's about transformation, and every single soul on this plane is here for the purpose of transformation. We are here to learn how to die many deaths, and people get hugely anxious when we hear the word death. It doesn't necessarily mean physical death. It can mean spiritual death, which I believe this virus is asking us to look at. What needs to die in order for, not who needs to die, but what needs to die inside of each one of us to be able to create a world that was actually healthier and more virus-free, not just of COVID, but of capitalism and all the other things that we would like to have die, so that we could move on to a more a healthier culture, a place where, our lives are really seen and given an opportunity to feel heartfelt, just like the heart does. So I think that is an important piece. I wanted to say briefly, since we're on the subject of the destiny cards, I happened to get creative the other day and went on to my computer and entered into my database where the cards are 7/4/1776, which is the birthday of this country. So instead of obviously each individual birthday, I put in the birthday of the United States. And when I looked at the cards for 2020, I saw that, ironically, the Ace of Spades is the environment card of this year. And the environment card is the good card. It's the card that says, I'm going to help you guys out with what's going on. And the Ace of Spades essentially means death of the old, beginning of the new. So death of the old way, the old culture, maybe a rise in spirituality, a rise in believing in the deathlessness of the soul, that we're all here, we all signed up to be born and to leave. And we're powerless over that, whether it be COVID-19 or an accident or some other form of whatever demise that takes us from this plane. We are powerless over that. And the Ace of Spades is saying, this is about a new way of life. This is about getting rid of the old, figuring out what no longer works, and moving on to something new, to a new sort of reformative society and culture that we want to live in. We're challenged this year. Our Pluto card this year, interestingly enough, is the 10 of Hearts. And the 10 of Hearts basically says, I'm challenging you, United States, with more involvement with the public or with your own circle of friends, because the Ten of Hearts means a large audience. So what are we all doing? We're getting on Zoom calls, we're FaceTiming people, we're getting out there and wanting to not only be seen, but to see others. We want to connect more with others. And we're being challenged with that because we've been in a cocoon. We've been in a selfie cocoon for many, many years now. And this card is telling me that it's time to change it up. It's time to get more involved with a larger number of people. And that once you start to do that, important changes will begin to happen. We've moved in. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I was challenged with it today because they required a passcode on this meeting.
That's right.
But I feel like we're accepting the challenge, the fact that we are
Yes.
doing more things like this. I have to say, so one of my best friends lives in Manhattan, and we have the type of friendship where, like, literally we might not talk for 2 months, but yet we pick up all the time. Like, it's just, like, we talk every day.
Mm-hmm.
We try to see each other, as much as we can. It probably realistically some years is only 3 or 4 times a year. But since this has happened, we have talked, if not every day, by text, but we've done Zoom calls. I mean, I've seen her more in the last 5 weeks, seriously, than I've probably seen her in like the last 2 years.
Wow.
So I feel like we are accepting the challenge. So
yes.
we're doing that, which hopefully is what Spirit wants us to do. And it's going to be a more positive outcome because of that.
I completely agree with you. Absolutely. And I've seen everyone, I mean, maybe that's too generalized a word, but I've seen so many people step up to that plate, step up to that challenge. I mean, on social media, using it for the good, using it for the connection, using it for community. We've also moved into a lot of Aquarian planets, which means, we're ending the old age of the Capricorn rigid structures of, all of the things that Capricorn, the taskmaster and the thumb on the pulse can represent. And we're moving into this water-bearing stage, which is, I want to bring water to your house. I'd like you to bring water to my house. And how can we do that? How can we get back in touch with the fluidity in our spirits, instead of, being behind our own screen all the time? How can I widen my screen? How can I speak to an audience of people and let them see me? I mean, I think, we are absolutely, we're doing it right now, so
right.
It's beautiful.
So a couple people just put their birthdays in, so I'm just going to give them to you, so you can tell them what their card is, and then as we keep talking, they'll be able to get a little bit more out of it. So let's see. Allison, June 22nd.
June 22nd is the 8 of clubs, and the 6 of diamonds. So did you want me to give descriptions of the cards?
No, at this point, let's just give them what their 2 cards are.
Absolutely.
And then we can just keep going with the call. Deanna, August 28th.
August 28th is the Jack of Hearts and the 9 of clubs.
And then Beverly is March 21st.
March 21st is the 2 of diamonds and the 6 of diamonds.
And then Sheila's December 6th.
December 6th is the 3 of diamonds. No, I'm sorry, the Queen of clubs and the Ace of spades.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, perfect.
Yeah.
So we talked about the suits. Where do you want to go next? Or do you want me to ask you some questions?
Okay. Well, if you have questions, I mean, I certainly, there's so many other things to talk about and other topics, but if you have some questions, why don't we do that?
I was going to say, what if we talk, so when you get your destiny reading, you alluded to this a little bit, you get, obviously, a whole year plan, essentially, for both of your cards.
Yes.
Okay, so I was going to get into, the long range card and all that, but I think maybe back up for a second, because people may not be aware that they had two cards. So let's talk
Right.
about what is the difference between your primary card, which is the first card you gave people, and the secondary card, your birth card and your planetary. How
Okay.
do we use those? What do they mean essentially?
Okay. So the first card, or the primary card, is known as BC, an abbreviation meaning birth card. So for Diane, it would be the four of spades. That's the first card. The second card, or significator, is known as the PRC, which means planetary ruling card. And those two cards are your cards for your lifetime. One, you could put one on the front, meaning the birth card. It has, I would say, I would attribute more significance to the birth card than I would to the planetary ruling card, but they're actually both extremely significant. The planetary ruling card oftentimes is akin to the rising sign in astrology, where it can almost be how people see you. So people may see Diane more as the Queen of Diamonds than necessarily as the Four of Spades. She may project almost, an entrepreneurial energy, which is indicative of the Queen of Diamonds, a royal energy, a principled energy, an energy of service, which is all about the Queen.
Right. Sometimes my friends say to me, how do you get people to do all this stuff for you? And I'm like, oh, I just have people for that. Like that's the Queen of Diamonds. That's totally my Queen of Diamonds coming out. Like,
yeah, so true. I love that. I love that. I just have people for that. I have to remember that one. That's great. Yeah.
Yep. Like, and the way, I'm really not a materialistic person, but I drive a BMW Z4, and because I just love the way that, not because I need a BMW, I could care less. Like, I would probably never buy any other kind of BMW, but I love the way that car looks. When I first saw that car, I was like, oh my God, I love convertibles. It's a beautiful car. But that also, I think, that would be Queen of Diamonds energy.
Yes,
wanting a car that looks a specific way.
Very, very true. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that in the Queen energy, there is that invisible crown, so to speak. I mean, that people can sense and feel. Yeah, I mean, literally, I mean, you certainly wear it with grace and with integrity. I mean, it's not something that you flaunt, but I think there is an energetic vibration that says within you, I need a car that looks like my Queen, so to speak. That fits me, and that's okay. You're being honest about it and real about it, and I think that's fine. As long as all of that is kept within balance. I mean, the diamond says I'm of value, and you are. And so if a card represents some of that value, hey, go for it. Absolutely. I love it. So yeah, the birth card, the first card, more significance, but both spreads can reveal agendas, the soul's agenda for the year, almost equally. Would I attribute a little more significance to the birth card? Probably, yes. But they're both pretty significant. So, go ahead.
So then when you get your reading, you get a reading for both the birth card and the planetary ruling card. And it's it's your reading for the year. And how it is, what the analysis is basically you have, I don't know if I'm going to get the terminology right, but you have 5 main cards for each of your birth card and 5 for your planetary card. And those consist of a long range card, which is essentially, well, let me let you explain, but long range, Pluto, environment, displacement, and what am I forgetting?
Result.
The result.
So the Pluto and the result card, right. So yes, as Diane just explained, the major cards that are umbrellaing your year, so to speak, are the long range card, which sits over the top of the entire reading, and it essentially is your soul's informant of what the lesson plan is for this year. So what is this year primarily going to be about? Is it going to be about finances? Is it going to be about love? Is it going to be about health? What is it going to be about self-esteem? What's the lesson plan for this year? And then of course, with every lesson plan, there is a challenge card or a Pluto card, as Diane just mentioned. That Pluto card represents the homework that your soul has signed up to do for the 52nd chapter of your life. Okay, so Diane is in her 52nd chapter that she started on February 8th. She has a long range card assigned to her, and then she has a Pluto card, and the Pluto card says, okay, here's where you need to do your homework. Pluto is the planet that wants you to learn about death of the old and beginning of the new. He wants the old in you to go up in flames and to die so that you can move on to the next chapter. And so he's basically saying, okay, if this is a year for you to learn about unconditional love, I'm going to give you the 7 of Hearts as your Pluto card, because you've been doing judgment all too much. And now you need to step down into that chamber of your heart and find out what this person or these people in your life are representing about your shadow side. So the 7 of Hearts would be your challenge card in that
And it
area.
can also refer to a person too.
It could be,
For
yes.
example, right. For example, it could be something related to my cousin who's a 7. It's interesting you picked that card, but yeah, could be something related to her that I need to learn, or how she's going to play a role maybe in helping me learn about unconditional love.
That's right. Yeah. Great point, because the card in any reading, regardless of where it's placed in your reading, always represents two things. One is a person in your life that the card is challenging you with or rewarding you with or whatever. So, do I have any 7 of Hearts in my life? In Diane's situation, she does. So she could look at the 7 of Hearts challenge card as, oh, this is about my cousin who challenges me, but it is also about the experience of what that card represents. So the card represents unconditional love. Oh, here's my cousin who I have a difficult time with. So now she and the card are here in this position so that I can learn about unconditional love.
Right.
So yes, that's a great point, Diane. Thank you for reminding me. And that those are 2 areas that every card. Now, sometimes, you'll have some cards and there's nobody in your life that is represented by that card. You don't have to have a person represented by it, but you still have to do the work of whatever that card means, or not,
well,
obviously. Go ahead.
Interesting you said that, because that has happened to me on many occasions where I looked at the particular card and I thought, I don't know anybody who's, I don't know, a 3 of clubs or whatever it was.
Right.
And sure enough, somebody came into my life who was that card. I mean, 99.9% of the time that I've checked,
Right.
and whether it was someone who literally came into my life fleetingly or had a big impact, like, I don't, like, let's say it was a new person I was working with in the magazine or whatnot, or somebody who I just hired, for sales, whatever. Like every single time I looked at that card and thought, I don't know anybody who's that card. If I went back and looked, like, later or whatever, hands down, I'm like, well, there's that person. They just walked into my life. Card said they were going to show up. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
And they did. Right.
Yep.
Yeah, yep. I know. I mean, again, it's the mind that is always going, you got to be kidding me. The mind is always questioning, like, I'm the source, guys. The soul is not the source. I'm the source. You still, I mean, we're down here and the mind, is really, the ego really doesn't like to be in check at all. So it really likes to dispute the truth of the soul constantly. And we're in that because we're in bodies. And
Yeah.
that's where we're going to go. Like, how can this system be showing me people who are in my cards? Well, because the system is life. This is the system. I mean, it has been referred to as the architectural blueprint for life.
Yeah.
So as we well know, house of cards.
Yeah.
You all grew up in a house of cards. And
Yeah.
that's where does that TV show come from? I mean, you know, we've prostituted a lot of these sayings to adjust to our adolescent understanding of things.
Right.
So, yes.
Yeah. So
Good
then
point.
Pluto is your challenge, and then you have
Right.
a result card.
And then the results card happens at the end of the year, provided, obviously, you have done the work of the homework card or the Pluto card. So you get the reward of the results card after you have completed the assignment of the challenge card. So let's say in your case, starts as the Pluto card, then, you know, your result card could theoretically be the 2 of hearts or the 4 of hearts, where, okay, I've learned to love. I've learned to love another person. I've learned, you know, I've had my lessons in love completed successfully. I've been more unconditional and less judgmental, and have less expectations of people showing up in the way I think they need to show up in my life, as opposed to the way their soul is dictating that they show up. Again, something that we don't have any power over, which the ego gets really uncomfortable with a loss of power. So, yeah. And so then after the result card is the environment card, which I just spoke to for the United States, being the Ace of Spades. The environment card is the good guy. He's there supporting you. He's like a cheerleader. He's saying, I'm going to give you the tools this year to learn and to be able to easily access the 7 Pluto work that you have to do. So whatever that card happens to be, it's trying to support you throughout the year, and it will make things easier for you, the environment card. It's a good guy. And then lastly, the displacement card is the card, in a sense, opposite the energy of the environment card. It says, oh, you've been playing the game of Monopoly all year, or actually all your life, and now you've landed on my energy. So it's almost like when you land on somebody's place, square in Monopoly, you owe that person rent. So let's say you land on, I don't know, the King of Clubs, and he's your displacement card. Well, that means that you owe the King of Clubs. So you owe any male of the club suit. You owe the concept of knowledge, and somebody else may be having that knowledge. You're seeing the world through the lens of the King of Clubs, not seeing it through, like in Diane's case, the 4 of Spades energy. You're seeing it through the King of Clubs energy, and you have to defer on some level to that energy. Again, something we're not crazy about, like, oh, I need to give to the King of Clubs this year, as opposed to receive. So we receive from the environment card, and we have to give to the displacement energy. So, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so somebody asked, Beverly asked, is there any significance to having the same birthday and planetary card? We should talk about that, because some people only only have one card or have the same card, correct?
Correct. The only people that have one card or the same card twice are Leos. Okay, so if you are born under the astrological sign of Leo, then you will be the double Jack of Clubs or the double 10 of Clubs. So that means that I take the card and then I exponentially increase the energy of that card twice. So being a double Jack of Clubs, gives that person a much more possibly resourceful, creative, shifty, manipulative. I mean, all the things that would go with being a Jack of Clubs. They would have that energy doubled within them. but that is the only zodiac sign that gets the same card twice. And if anyone were wanting to know the reason for that, I've directly asked Robert Camp that, and the response I've gotten is, it is a secret of the system. So I don't know.
That's a good answer.
Yes.
that means I don't know the answer.
That is what that means. I mean, it's been attempted. It's almost like the Joker. So if you're born, there's one card that is connected to the Joker, one birthday, I should say, that's connected to the Joker, and that is December 31st. So if you're born on December 31st, you are the Joker. New Year's Eve day, obviously, and that particular card cannot be read for. That particular card has no cards in this lifetime. That particular energy of that particular soul has chosen to be born as the Joker to learn whatever it is that is between them and a higher energy, that they are really not here to share with the world. They're kind of hanging up there without a net, doing their own thing. They can be extremely successful people within systems. You know, they have a lot of business ability, but they are the jacks of all jacks, so to speak. And the jack in the deck is the immature king. So they can be highly manipulative. They kind of beat to their own drum, and they don't particularly care, so to speak, if it's not your drum. They're just here doing the Joker. I mean, they are here without, I mean, I could not read, if somebody had December 31st as a birthday, I couldn't give them a report or do a reading for them, because they are their own people. And again, that's a soul's agenda that we're not privy to. But if you know someone born on that date, I can tell you that they're highly talented. You know, I know a couple of people who are born on that date, and they're very good business people. They can function very high up in the system, so to speak. But they are almost untouchable in many ways, and very, like I said, very strategic. There's a subterfuge about their energy that really is, you know, they're the master of the chessboard.
Ooh, are there any famous people that you know? That would be interesting.
Born as the Joker, you know?
Oh, Anthony Hopkins.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yep. Donald Trump Jr.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, interesting.
Wow.
John Denver.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I will say, as far as famous people, a couple of couples that are kind of, and this is there's another whole piece around compatibility that we haven't talked about, and maybe that will be for another talk at some point, but compatibility between people, between souls, is assessed by 3 points: attraction, intensity, and compatibility. So ideally, you want the attraction to be high, the intensity to be low, and the compatibility to be high. And the book Love Cards will give you, so if you're interested in another person, or another person is in your life, whether they be a spouse or a partner or a parent or a child or a colleague, you can look up your compatibility levels with that person, your intensity levels with that person, what you came in to learn. That's all explained in the Love Card book. So
also the energy, yeah, that's a really cool book. I've used that a couple times. And also, I feel like it talks about the energy of the relationship. Like, what did the two of you possibly come here to do?
That's
and
right.
How can you improve or be in the positive side of the relationship? Like, what are things that you need to watch out for that might be conflicts? Like me and Chris is a card together. There's something about, you guys came together to be spontaneous, to learn new things, to travel. You have to keep the energy of that spontaneity in the relationship, or it will get stale. That's right. that's what the relationship person, let's call it, the two people coming together, there's like another entity. That's what that entity wants to do. That's why bringing the two of you together. So that was fascinating just to learn about, like, oh, like, why did this person come into my life and what are we supposed to do together? And how do we stay, stay conscious in that relationship and make it the best that it can be.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, that's another whole, the art of coupleship is an amazing piece of this system as well, because it's telling you, I mean, your soul chose to probably in many ways finish a relationship or continue a chapter of the relationship that you had started in other lifetimes together. Oftentimes when you come in with and you feel that level of compatibility with another person, or that level of feeling as if you've known that person before, it's very indicative of, I've done, you and I have traveled together before, we've worked together before, and now we've come back in to either add another chapter or to complete a chapter. We always don't know that. Again, these are the mysteries of the soul and the spirit. And we don't know how well we're going to do at completion of that chapter in this lifetime. We don't want to know a lot of times about completion, but that's what we're here to do. So people that are, intensely involved with each other in an intimate relationship, their souls have the agenda. Their souls recognized each other when they first met. Your two Queen of Diamonds is a very, very strong indicator of compatibility because you share a card together. My middle daughter and her husband share the Queen of Clubs together, and their compatibility is very strong because of that. I mean, I look at things and try to bring back what I see in life to the system, and it always, it's always there as a guidepost to say, see, this works. So yeah, compatibility, intensity, and attraction are really important pieces in terms of determining why you're with someone. I mean, it goes back to that saying, and you can Google it, a reason, a season, or a lifetime. It's a beautiful poem written about, is this person in my life for a reason? Are they here for a season, or are they here for a lifetime? And again, the soul really is the one who has the answer to that. And when that chapter is completed, and when that soul has given me or afforded me the opportunity to learn what I need to learn, then perhaps the relationship ends or moves on to a different form in some way. Again, the romance in all of us doesn't like to hear that, but the soul knows that the learning is over. So,
right. Yeah.
Yep.
So you mentioned love cards. What are some other books or websites that you would send people to for more resource or information?
So the second book in the sequel of the two most important books in the system are the Cards of Your Destiny. So the first one is Love Cards, which I would recommend just really, reading that and looking up the cards of all the people and their birthdays, and there's a calendar in the back of the book. That gives you a thorough understanding of each card and what it's here for. There's great information in that book. And then the follow-up is the Cards of Your Destiny, which is more of an application of the love cards. And it's looking at like things that we would look at if I were to do a reading for you. Where does this card show up in what planetary period of your reading? Because that's one thing we didn't talk about, that the 365 days are comprised of 7 periods in the year, and those periods are each governed by a planet. So Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Those are the 7 planets. So again, we have 7 planets. We have 52 weeks. 5 and 2 is a 7 in numerology. God rested on the Sabbath, or the 7th. So the number of spirit, essentially. And so every single planetary period lasts 7.5 weeks. So if you multiply 7 planets by 7.5 weeks, you get 52 weeks. So your soul is being orchestrated, if you will, or if you can imagine, you know, invisible threads from the top of your head chakra all the way up into the universe where you first originated. Two cards are dictating your energy for 7.5 weeks. Then, and this will all be in your report, then the next 7.5 weeks, you're then dictated by another 2 cards. So you're playing those cards, so to speak. Not about the cards you've been dealt, it's how you play the hand. So you're playing those cards, or those cards are playing you, depending. So.
Yeah. One more question, then we'll get to the mini reading. Beverly wants to know, is there a significance to having the same number card in both cards? For example, if you have 2 kings or 2 twos or 2, yeah.
Sure. Yeah, good question. Yes, depending on what that number is. I mean, certainly if you have 2 kings, then you, and there are many birth dates that have 2 kings. So then you are the highest in the suit of whatever it is. You're the card that contains the most amount of, let's say, the King of Hearts and the King of Diamonds. July 2nd is a King of Hearts, King of Diamonds day. And essentially that means that my card, my energy has the most amount of knowledge about love. The King of Hearts is the, you know, the father, the loving father card. So it's the king. Queen of Hearts is the loving mother card. So the King of Hearts is a fathering energy, very, you know, very loving. And then the King of Diamonds is the master of business, the business success card. So those are both high energy cards because there's 13 hearts and 13 diamonds in each energetic card. So that's a high number. So yeah, I mean, if you have 2 7s, then 7s are indicative of lessons, spiritual lessons. They could be of the heart, they could be of the diamond. It depends on what the suits are, what the birthday is. But the double number would give you information that the soul came here to either be a master, as the king is, or to be a researcher, as the 7 is. The 7 is a quieter, more researching sort of energy, learning lessons, being more reserved. Speaks to me. I'm born on the 7th. I am the 7 of spades. So that 7 energy is depthful and sometimes too much so. But at any rate, that's what I came here to do, call a spade, and that's what I'm doing.
Right, exactly,
Yes.
exactly.
Yep.
Okay, so I picked a random number, and that turns out to be Deanna. So I'm gonna unmute Deanna, and Deanna, you might have to unmute yourself too. Can you hear us, or can we hear you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. How are you?
Hi.
Good.
Good, good.
Hi, Deanna.
How are you?
I'm well, and yourself?
Great, thank you.
Good. So when's your birthday?
Well, you've done this for me. So, August 28th.
Yes, I have done this for you.
Hearts.
Jack of Hearts,
Jack
Nine
of
of
Hearts,
Clubs.
Nine of Clubs, yeah.
Yep. And so if we were to look at both of those cards, you are obviously a child of the system. The Jack of Hearts is the Christ card of the system. So the Jack of Hearts sits in the middle of the spread, and we haven't talked about the spreads, and that will be a discussion for possibly another time, but the Jack of Hearts is right at the center of the cross in the system. So he is about, or she is about, Christ consciousness. So very much coming from a higher place of love, and being able to deliver that love to those within its own family circle, colleagues. I mean, it emanates from the Jack. It's the Christ card. It's the sense of, I see love from a higher plane, And I want love for myself and for all whom I come in contact with. So the Jack of Hearts is one of the, what we would call in the system, the fixed, it's a fixed card, so it has a fixed energy in the sense that the Jack of Hearts does not move. It always maintains that same place where the cross crosses, indicating Christ. And it doesn't leave its box. It has assumed a nature of, I guess I would want to say, unadaptability or inflexibility to movement. People are drawn to the Jack of Hearts. It doesn't step out of its box to go necessarily, even though it sends its energy out in a loving way. It maintains its space and its place of containment within the cross, within the place where it is crossed or crosses or is representative of the Christ cross. One of the issues of the Jack of Hearts is they can be a huge savior to mankind in many ways. I mean, they have this huge heart, and they want to, like Christ, symbolically wanted to save the human race at that particular time. And actually, interestingly enough, we started the session with talking about double numbers. He was 33 when he passed. So again, a number that could not be reduced, and a number that indicates 6 also numerologically. So the 33, the 6, the Jack of Hearts is all about love. If you look at the 6, it's pregnant, and it's a mother holding a baby, the curvature of the child. And so Jack of Hearts are connected to loving their own circle of family, and also loving to be of service to the larger circle of family. So to all of the souls that it comes in contact with, they are here pregnant with love, so to speak, for mankind. And one of the challenges of this card is to not be so much of a savior that they become a martyr, or they give up too much of their energy to the detriment of self, so that they maintain their boundaries around, obviously, self-care and good health and all of that, and they don't step out of that box and give away too much of themselves. So that would be, I think it's a very, very spiritual card. You know, they, like I said, they were born with this understanding of the heart that works beautifully for them in relationships and, you know, in their work. Again, the only one of the challenges for the Jack of Hearts can be at times the unadaptability or the stubbornness or that sense of, and I don't like that word, it's that sense of, no, I am here, this is who I am, this is what I know, and I'm not going to change for you, or, and I know it sounds somewhat contradictory in terms of what I said before, but around giving too much of yourself. But obviously, I mean, that's an area of lessons and of work, and just of maintaining your energy within that box so you have enough to keep on giving. Your second card, the 9 of Clubs, actually may help you with this, because the 9 of Clubs is a card of letting go, and actually it's interesting. It is also the card that the United States has in their other environment position this year. So it's letting go of outdated forms of communication, letting go of outdated ways of thinking, things that are no longer working, you're here to let go of that. And sometimes there's difficulty with the Nine of Clubs in terms of letting go. They have a tremendous amount of spiritual knowledge. Nine of Clubs is a card of just spiritual love. And they're here to, I mean, that's what the universe and your soul wanted you to do, which was to come here with all the knowledge of 9 clubs and be able to give it away in a universal kind of a way. So it's called the Universal Knowledge Card. So 9 is a humanitarian number. It's indicative of Aquarius energy. We're moving into that energy right now, and the universe wants you to give that 9 of clubs away. All of what you know in your head, because 9 of clubs is a mind card, a lot of mentality, a lot of intellect, a lot of knowledge. And it wants you to give that knowledge out to the masses in whatever way you can. And of course, those of us who know you know that you're already doing that. That's not something new for you. But, you know, I guess maybe if anything, this reading is reinforcing that you're doing what you came here to do. And I think that that's what all of our souls want. And clearly, that is something that is about who you are. And so I think, you know, the 9 of clubs and the Jack of hearts really work very well together in terms of compatibility, because, you know, you're supposed to give all that you know away in the form of a higher sense of love. And that's what the Jack of hearts wants. He wants you to be like Christ and model unconditional love, you know, and letting go of the old, and forgiveness, you know, all of the things that the symbolic death on the cross meant, but not to carry the cross so much on your back that you are weighted down by it, so to speak. So.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I keep hoping that this little, well, it's more than little chaos, you know, changes a lot of the way that, I mean, I think, you know, my sort of goal has always been to have functional medicine be more of a universal approach to healthcare than, you know, so getting that word out and, you know, can we change the way, because obviously the less healthy are succumbing to this. And so I think going forward, health is going to be something that's going to be, you know, sort of paramount in people's minds. How do I stay healthy? How do I get healthy? How do I boost my immune system? How do I, you know, how do I fight this? How do I stay ahead of it? And so, yeah, so.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know Deanna, she is a functional medicine MD here in Connecticut. She was one of my first advertisers for Natural Nutmeg. We go way back to 2007. She took a chance on me. So she's awesome. She has a phenomenal practice here. So if anybody is interested in reaching out to her or have any questions, you can certainly contact me and I'll put you guys in touch. But yeah, I mean, everything you said, Marianne, about her and her cards and what she's supposed to be doing is spot on. And Deanna, I agree with you too. I mean, from what I've seen happening in the last, you know, week or 2 weeks, you know, functional medicine practitioners, naturopaths, anyone that's really in this holistic field, their businesses are skyrocketing. It's just been amazing to see. I mean, I keep joking, you know, like half of my friends are, you know, like either unfortunately laid off or furloughed, but you know, they're sitting around doing projects, or you know, they're like bored or they have nothing to do. I'm like, I'm busier than ever. Oh my God. we've been working like crazy trying to help people get the word out about telemedicine and, you know, virtual things and what people can do to, you know, stay connected and that kind of thing. But I agree with what you said. I think that this is a wake-up call for a lot of people to start taking better care of themselves and, you know, realizing that, hey, I need to be proactive about this. I need to stay as healthy as I possibly can. What can I do from preventative measures? Where, in the past, it's been basically like, oh, you know, well, insurance doesn't take it, then I don't need to worry about that. Or I want somebody else to take responsibility for my health. That's kind of
Right.
been the old mindset.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's changing, which is fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think we're moving into, again, I mean, everything lines up, you know, spirit lines up with all of this. I mean, these are Aquarian ideals. These are Aquarian energies. I mean, to speak to you, Di, I mean, this is who you are. I mean, it's getting the information out to the masses about the holistic remedy in all medicines, and how, you know, excluding the soul and excluding spirit from whatever it be, from whatever medical model is out there, does a disservice to our health, because the spirit it needs to be recognized. It wants a different form of medicine, and I think that you know, it's been taking a while for people to catch up with that idea. But I do notice that over the years that I've done this part of the work, the metaphysical work, people are more open, and now this may really crack it wide open, and really you know, get to the wound, and which is what we all need, and start to seek out practitioners like Diane, like Deanna, and a lot of other people who are incorporating spirit and soul, and, you know, the immune system and all of those kinds of things into their work, as opposed to just you know, getting one lab report or doing whatever it is that, you know, has not been a holistic approach to the body, mind, and spirit. So yeah, you're doing wonderful, wonderful work. And you know, you're doing what your soul has. I mean, all I can do is say that, you know, that's been going on for you for quite some time. And, you know, you made that shift, you made that transformation, which is what soul wants us to do, is to transform. And now it's about getting the rest of the culture to transform, which is, you know, I mean, we can each do it individually in our own way, and, you know, and hope that we get there sooner as opposed to later. So, yep.
Great. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks everybody. This has been another awesome call. I mean, we could probably stay on till, you know, 2 p.m, but I'm not going to do that today. And we'll have to just stay posted with you, Marianne, about, you know, Mackenzie and what's going on. I mean, I would say we'll do another one next Saturday, but we'll play that by ear based on what.
Yeah, because honestly, in terms of that, I'm not, you know, I was the one to go with her to the hospital with her husband, but obviously that's not happening. I just feel fortunate that they're allowing husbands to go, which they were not doing before, or they weren't doing it certainly down in the Greenwich area, but now Hartford Healthcare is still allowing it. So I will not be accompanying her. So I still should be available, you know, to do another call weekly. So look forward to it.
So I'll put it out on Facebook and email and whatnot, but we'll tentatively plan for next Saturday at 10, same time, same place. And I will include the passcode. I don't think it's going to change, but who knows? I mean, you know, Zoom could email me next Saturday morning, 5 minutes before I'm supposed to get on, and tell me we got a new passcode again. So I appreciate everybody for being flexible and sticking with us, and you know, reaching out for the passcode. But I will keep everybody posted on that. And this call was recorded, so we'll get it downloaded and email it out to everybody, and have it up on our website. And we will hope to see everybody next week. Thanks again, all of you, for joining, and have a great weekend.
Thanks, Di. Thanks for hosting.
Thank you.
Bye.